All right. Well, Craig, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I really appreciated you coming to our men's group the other day, and then again to our watch party. That was awesome.
Yeah, I had an awesome time. Great group of young men and older men, and a lot of wisdom in the building. I love men fellowship.
Yeah, definitely. It's something special when we can all get together and kind of iron sharpens iron. Isn't that what they say?
Indeed, It does.
Yeah. And thanks for the beard trim. I needed it. I was looking like a mountain man.
we had a good time.
Yeah. And I noticed, one of the things I noticed was it was a blizzard, and the roads were pretty rough, but I got to your shop and man, the young men just kept showing up.
Right.
You're the young barbers you're mentoring.
Yeah,
I was impressed.
It's like our sacred. I always say, rain, sleet, snow, whatever. We're gonna get to work and provide service to the community.
Yep. Well, tell me about that. How did you get into barbering, and how important has that been in your life?
So I originally got into barbering. So I'm 48 now. So probably about 31 years ago, I decided that I wanted to be a barber. One of my friends was enrolling in barber school, and he was like, everybody, let's go to barber school. So we all signed up for barber school. Went to barber school. It was 2,100 hours then, and I did about 1,100 hours. Of course, I was like 18, 19 years old, so it was kind of like, oh man, I'm only halfway through this stuff. Like
2,100 hours. Wow, were they teaching you brain surgery or what?
I wish they was
wow.
teaching me. Yeah, 2,100 hours. It was like really. It was brutal for a young man with a lot of different distractions, And I eventually took a leave of absence. Didn't come back. I came back actually like 14 years ago.
Okay.
And I was told I had to do the whole 2,100 hours over again. And I sucked, but I wanted it so bad. I was like, you know what, I got to do it.
How old were you then?
So I was 33, 34.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What'd you do in the meantime?
Just about everything in sales, people, and mostly sales. Anything with sales. From network marketing, everything underneath the sun with sales and people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What brought you back to barbering?
What brought me back to barbering was, I was kind of just like midlife, went through a divorce, and I had moved back to Iowa from the South, and I was like, you know what, it's time for me to go back to barber school. Like, it's what I want to do. I had already been cutting hair on the side, and I talked to Terry Millis, who was actually the owner of the school, when I went the first time, and he was like, I'd love to have you back, Craig, and so I said, you know what, let's do it. Signed up. At the time, I started cleaning grease traps in the evening after school, the way to pay my bills. I rented out my house because I couldn't afford everything else, because I just wasn't getting paid enough money. And I told my sister, I said, I need to live in your basement for, probably about 10 months while I'm doing this barber school. Like, don't worry about me. I shower at the gym. My nephew was playing basketball at the time at William Penn. So she was like, yeah, you can have his bed.
Oh, there you go.
Don't disturb us.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I went back to barber school. And then, I decided like I was just like surveying like all the barbershops in the metro area and what type of barber I wanted to be, and then I met a lady named Tasha, who was actually coming back to the barber school to do her con ed hours, but she actually wasn't even an acting barber or stylist, she was actually into banking. And we just had a conversation and we kind of hit it off, and she's like, I told her my vision like for a barbershop, and she was like, come in, talk to me at the bank, and we'll see what we can do for you, if we can help your vision manifest. And I went to the bank. She gave me all this stuff to do, basically to try to get a loan. I didn't have the best credit and stuff. So, she was like, it's going to be tricky with underwriting and that type of stuff, And so we built this relationship. I did everything. She talked to everybody she wanted me to talk to. And then I came back and she was like, okay, now I'm going to talk to underwriting. Actually, it's crazy because her and the bank manager, Aaron, actually had went around with me to a bunch of barbershops, because when I projected the numbers that I wanted to do with the barbershops and the type of barbershop I wanted to have, like, they didn't see the vision. So I actually like took them to other barbershops like Platinum Cuts, other barbershops that I knew. And I knew that if I opened up a barbershop, the impact that I could have on other people. So originally when I opened the barbershop, I remember it was like 4 of us. I hired 3 of the best barbers I knew, because I feel like I went to barber school, but I still didn't know how to cut hair.
Right.
So I actually opened the barbershop. I was halfway through barber school, probably 7 months into barber school, when Two Rivers Bank signed off on the loan for me. And so I found the place, opened a barbershop, hired 3 or 4 of the best barbers that I knew. So after school, I would start going to the barbershop, watching them cut, learning how to cut. Then I'd go back to school, and I was getting better, basically from watching those gentlemen teach me how to cut. And I signed a 5-year lease, and I remember it was funny because when I signed a 5-year lease, the property manager was like, you might not want to sign a 5-year lease, right? And I was like, oh, well, I think I'm going to be here,
Right.
And it's crazy because I was only there 2 years, right?
Right.
But it immediately, the impact that we started having on the community, because before like us, it was like I asked like 500. I interviewed like 500 people. Like, what do you like about the barbershop? What do you dislike about the barbershop? What do you want to keep about the barbershop? Where do you get your hair cut at? And I took everybody's basically 2 cents, and I kind of tinkered with my vision, and that's why we called it Universal Barbershop,
Okay.
Because growing up, I always was in a barbershop every weekend. My mom would drop me off at Shade Tree or Moritz Barbershop, and I'd spend an hour and a half there. Listen to the men talk, getting my hair cut. They would call my mom when I was about in the chair, ready to come. She'd come back and pick me up. It's like my sacred place.
Right.
So I kind of wanted to create that same environment at Universal, like make it family friendly, make everybody welcome. So I started hiring a very diverse group of barbers, with every different ethnicity, able to speak Spanish, so we could welcome in everybody in the community. And that kind of took off. Before I knew it, we had 8 barber chairs in that shop. It was only 1,000 square feet. We had 8 barber chairs and 10 barbers. So, it's crazy because, like, out of that original 10 group, 5 of them are probably shop owners right now, and a couple of the guys are still with me.
So you've mentored some business owners too.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. We're probably partly responsible for this barber boom that we've seen in Metro Iowa, for sure.
How important is that community? I mean, when I was in there, you told me how some of the guys brought their kids in, and they'd sweep the floors and do some chores around the place, and kind of you talk about growing up there. I mean, how important is that community around the barbershop?
I mean, we call them barbershop babies.
Really? Okay.
It's very important, because our kids, our sons, our daughters, they come in the barbershop, and we kind of everybody's like, we're all uncles in there. We're all meant, when we have female barbers, they're aunts. We're mentoring the kids. We're watching them grow up through junior high, middle school, preschool, elementary school, through high school. So it's always a mentoring environment. And when you're having a barber client relationship, it turns into a real friendship. I'm there for your graduation pictures. I'm there for your marriage. I'm there for your first job interview. I'm there through anything that you may need emotionally. So we're not just like barbers all the time. And with the kids, like, they're in the shop sometimes because, they get out of school, they have practices. Then they're at the shop, because we're taking care of the working class. The working class gets off at 5 o'clock. So we have to be in there sometimes later hours when people get off with the working class. So, we're in there teaching them how to be a accountable, how to be responsible, how to earn money. You know, like
Right.
the kids say, hey, can I get $1 for a pop? You know, and I said, have you swept yet? You know,
There's the broom.
yeah, grab the broom, let's sweep up. Hey, I like my old mentors. I used to be like, I can remember asking the barbers, hey, can I get a bag of chips? And they're like, dang, youngster, you just done came over here, asked for a bag of chips, ain't swept up the floor or nothing, or I'd ask them sometimes, like, I might be uncomfortable talking to, my parents about something. So I trusted my barber. So I would talk to my barber. Hey, what do you think about this? I'm going through this, the barbers always seem to be, they had some of the best advice, some of the best wisdom,
Sure.
And I guess that's because, like, we talk to everybody, all slices of life. It's like, I may, and one day in my chair, I may have the doctor. The one day I may have the dude on the corner that sells CDs. It's all slices of life. The next day I have a CBA basketball player in my chair. So it's all slices of life.
You have Representative Eddie Andrews.
Yes, Representative Eddie Andrews.
Lou Keita.
Lou Keita, that's the banker,
Right.
I have everybody in my chair, so I'm building those relationships and gaining that wisdom. And it seems like, we're all adding value to each other, even the kids, even the clients, everybody's adding value to each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were a young man and you said 18, 19,
Yep.
going to barber school, looking at that 2,100 hours and the cost and everything, and it really was a deterrent to actually getting into it and, following that dream until later in life. What is that? Is that kind of how this bill came about? HF 711,
Yes.
we met, you came to our men's group and kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
And the guys around, we had 19 guys around the table, 3 legislators, and everyone really connected on that. Really kind of, it was easy to understand why we need to create some change in that space.
Right. So, I mean, like, across the country, I travel all over. Like, this weekend I'm going to be in Kentucky at a Barber Expo. And, talking to barbers about, the requirements to get in the industry. It varies from 600 hours to 2,100 hours, The price point is usually somewhere around $25,000 right now. And the thing that I have noticed with barbers and having conversations with barbers, like, a lot of them share my same experience. They wanted to be a barber when they were younger. They were passionate about it. They went to barber school, then quit. It was just too many hours, too many distractions as a youngster. Then you come back when you're like 30 years old, and it's like, oh, you went through life, you went through all the ups and downs of life, and then you probably have other responsibilities, and like, the natural school kind of almost stops a lot of people from getting in our industry because, it's a 8 to 5, school. And most people are like, hey, I got to work. When am I going to get some sleep? When am I going to do this? I have to, other responsibilities, and then it's $25K just to even start,
Yeah.
And what if I don't like this career? What if I get halfway through and now I've signed up, put myself in $25K in debt, and I don't even want to do it. I decided I don't want to do it. Or just others responsibilities in life don't allow me to do it, because I've seen many people like go to barber school, sign up for barber school, get halfway through, quit, don't make it, or beauty school, or go to school, complete the school, and then don't even end up in our industry. That's happened so much,
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, because they're feeling like, dang, I spent a year, 2 years in barber school, beauty school, and now I'm really just starting. To learn. Like, I'm going to have to struggle more financially, another year or two struggling financially. I mean, it's
yeah,
it's tough.
And we talked about that a little bit when you were sculpting the beard.
Yeah.
I grew up in construction and finishing drywall, and
Yeah.
it was 100% apprenticeship. I mean,
Right.
I didn't go to any school or anything like that.
Right.
I learned from my brother-in-law and my brothers and my uncle, and became a darn good drywall finisher.
Yeah.
Made a great living at it. It was the boat that took me to the show and opened up all these other opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I had to do 2,100 hours and pay $25,000 to learn it, I don't think I ever would have. You know, and it's something that really I've carried with me to this day. I went and helped my daughter finish her bathroom, and I stood on a bucket and finished drywall the first time in years. But, you know, that mentorship I think is important in that apprenticeship aspect. How did we get to where it's become such an over-regulated industry?
I think, you know, I mean, $25K for a tuition.
Right, there you go.
Follow the money, you
yeah,
know.
Yeah.
Recently, you know, like our boards combined, you know, it's cosmetology and barber board, you know. I think that there's probably like 10,000 cosmetologists, probably 1,000 barbers, you know.
Only 1,000?
Yeah, like 1,000 licensed barbers in the state of Iowa. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, like, obviously something's not working, right? Especially in the barber industry. But there's only been like 3 or 4 barber schools spread out throughout Iowa. So I mean, like, you know, my nephew and those guys had a couple of his guys had friends had to drive 2 hours to school, drive 2 hours back after school, after spending 8 hours in the school. Like, so like it's very tough, you know. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to do that.
Right.
So I think like apprenticeship, you know, gives people a different pathway to learn, just like any other like trade. Like if it's electricians, plumbing, drywalling, you know, we have apprenticeship. You know, tattoo artists even have apprenticeship too. You know, so with the boards combining, it kind of like, you know, just pushed us all together. And yes, we do all do hair. Everybody does hair. Everybody's job is to make people look and feel better. But you know, some things when we have these cosmetology schools that want to control the entry point, basically, so they can, if you control the entry point, you basically can funnel the people that graduate from the schools to your businesses.
Really?
Yeah. So like we have these salons that pay people, you know, $15-$20 an hour, and you know, you kind of train the employee. You train the employee in the schools, where a lot of the barbers, if you look at the barbers, we're like, a lot of us are like entrepreneurs, you know, like we work on our own. We're contractors.
You're training the future business owners.
We're training the future business owners. You know, I'm not training you to work for me.
Right.
I want you to, I train you to work for yourself.
Right.
You know, I explain it. Hey, I'm not your boss.
Right.
The people that sit in your chair are your boss. They pay your salary. You rent space for me. I mentor you. You know, I train you as best to be on your own. I want you to be on your own and better than me at some point.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. That's awesome.
So
now you're making me want to become a barber. Maybe it's just my hair and envy of guys like Eddie and Lou.
I hear that a lot. That's funny because everybody's like, "Man, I wish I was a barber. We could just hang out all day." Right. I'm like, "Yeah, you know, it seems like fun. It is fun, and I enjoy it very much because it's like we're a community. You know, like people be like, well, how do you stay at work all day? And I'm like, it's work, but it's not work. Like I'm really actually seeing people that I really want to see. And I don't know, like some days people need to see me.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. like I don't know how many times I've heard that, hey, I don't even need a haircut. I just wanted to talk. I just need some therapy. You know? That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So HF 711, how did that come about? I mean, what is somebody sent me a study on, I think one of the pushbacks was, what was it? What are some of the pushbacks on the legislation?
I think some of the pushbacks I've heard, and from talking to some people, like the pushbacks, I was like, well, what's your opposition? Why do you oppose this, right?
Right.
And it's like, well, why should they have it easier than I have to do it? Why shouldn't they have to do what we did, Craig? You know, and I'm like, that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason. Because I don't know one person that can say, I enjoyed school, thought I should have had to do that. Right, and right. I am in agreement with paying $25K. Most of the opposition is they should have to do it because we did it. Or the other opposition is, we're going to flood the market with other barbers, right?
So you got 1,000 barbers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like my philosophy is on that is I tell people, listen, if you're a good barber or stylist, you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
Me, I can only want to see 40 to 50 people every week. And I earn a pretty good living with my friends paying my salary for that, right?
Right.
there is a haircut born every day at the hospital, right? We're not producing that many stylists and barbers at that pace that people are being born, right? So
it's a scarcity mentality.
Yeah. So the other one is, it's health and sanitation. It's that's probably not the real reason, but people say, there's going to be a health and sanitation. They're not going. Well, it doesn't take us 1,500 hours to learn health and sanitation.
Yeah, there was a study done. Somebody sent me. It was a clean cut study, and they showed when they implemented this program that there was really no difference in in outcomes in health inspections before and after. They studied 2,100 barbers, I believe, 2,148 salons.
Right.
Yeah, and 3,200 barbershops in Alabama. They studied Connecticut and Alabama, so it showed that there was no difference in health and safety.
Right. I mean, because we have so many different countries that don't have licensing for barbers. Actually, some of the best educators in the world come from these countries. A lot of us barbers, stylists in the U.S. can't wait to go to an educational seminar from some of these barbers that don't have licenses, right? That come to the United States, provide education for us, are actually teaching us, mentoring us. They don't have a license, and they don't have a health and sanitation problem.
Right.
I'm being mentored by barbers in the UK where I'm actually watching them cut hair still today, and I'm in the industry 14, 15 years, where I'm learning from them. And now with social media, learning has become different, right? We can go to YouTube, learn, we can get mannequins, we can learn, we can be self-taught a lot or mentored by somebody else after we have some type of foundation of education through ourselves. We're practicing at home. I was practicing at home in my garage, practicing on a mannequin, at home. That's how I was getting better. It wasn't really just like going to school getting better, because sometimes at the school I'd sit there for 7 hours and never even perform a service.
Right. Right.
So how was I getting better? There's 20 students, one educator. The educator's sitting in there in the office. So nobody's really cutting like that.
Right. How will this actually change the way barbership is done here in Iowa?
So one of the things that I think that it'll change the most is it'll create a different pathway for people that have been self-taught, have either been mentored in barbershops, grew up in barbershops. It gives them an opportunity to earn a living without having to pay $25,000 to learn their trade, or just get a piece of paper, get a license. I always still respect the fact that some people want a license. I'm a licensed barber myself, right?
Right.
But I think that there's no better person than me to be able to teach the next generation of barbers, or the contractor that I want to hire myself in my own business. I don't think that Aveda or just any barber or beauty school is going to be able to teach them more. And I think and one of the reasons why I think I know that, I talk and communicate with a lot of barbers, a lot of the lead barbers and stylists in our community, and we're always being asked to come teach at these schools.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm able to come teach at the school, why can't I teach in my own business?
Exactly. Yeah. So as far as economic opportunities, that'll definitely expand, right?
Oh, it would definitely expand economic opportunities. I think it's good. I think it's good for businesses, because as a business owner, it gives me the opportunity to basically train, hire someone, mentor somebody, teach them the right way, teach them the way that I want them to work underneath my umbrella. It also gives people that need more flexible hours and want to learn our trade. It gives them a different opportunity because they don't have to have a set school hours. Say I want to be able to say, I can teach you in the evenings. I can have evening classes. I can have early morning classes. I can have flexibility with their schedule, and they're not getting penalized because they have other life responsibilities as they're going. Because like when we're in school, you get penalized if you're not there this many hours this week. You get basically have to take out other loans, other financial loans. So it becomes a burden. By the time most people are done with school, they're in debt $30,000.
Wow. Wow. So do you have a story, or can you share a story of a young man you've mentored personally and how it changed their lives?
Oh, most definitely. I've mentored. It's crazy. I've mentored so many barbers in this industry, and I've had people that have come to me and I was started out cutting their hair, just having conversations with them, and a lot of times I ask young men like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your, I don't know what I want to do, and then sometimes the conversation comes up, I wouldn't mind being a barber. Hey, you want to be a barber? I don't know how many young men I've actually like called Terry Millis and like, hey Terry, I got this kid. He wants to sign up for barber school. I'm gonna personally bring him down there to you, get him signed up for school, and then after school he's coming to my shop. He's watching me cut. I'm teaching him all the tricks of the trade. I'm taking, like this weekend, I'm taking 3 young men with me to Kentucky, to basically experience and gain knowledge from other veteran barbers. I was 3 apprentices that have just recently graduated from another apprenticeship program, True All American. I'm taking them with me to Kentucky, so basically they can learn from other barbers in our industry.
That's amazing. Yeah, I didn't really know it was such a thing, I mean, from the outside, just going and getting a beard trim once in a while, or once every 4 weeks. I didn't realize that you guys had trade shows and training with people from the UK. And I know you said social media has changed the way you guys learn. And I've talked to kids that have graduated from college with a degree in graphic design or something, or editing, video editing, and everything they learn, they kind of learn after college.
Right, yeah.
They kind of learn some theory, they do a few things, but then they learn from the newest programs that are out on the market, and tutorials online and everything like that. So what would you say to somebody that would say, okay, so this will lower the licensing requirements and reduce industry standards?
What I would say, it doesn't lessen the license requirements.
Okay.
The license requirements are still the same. If you go to school,
okay.
it's 1,500 hours before you can take the test.
Okay.
It's approximately 2,400 hours through apprenticeship. Apprenticeship, you're actually more thoroughly taught, and you're actually taught in a shop environment. That's to get your license. To lower the license requirement, that's not lowering the license requirements. It's actually keeping everything the same.
Okay. So that's a misconception.
That is a misconception. It's a mistruth. What it seems that people have a problem with is, okay, I run into these individuals that have went to barber school. Right? There's only 1,000 barbers. Now they're forced to take the cosmetology test. I test very well, Oliver, so I can probably pass any test, right?
Right.
But I've ran into kids that have spent $25,000, went to barber school, and then for some reason they can't pass the test. It's
a cosmetology test.
It's a cosmetology test.
Why would you take a cosmetology test if you were becoming a barber?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out if an electrician should have to take a plumbing test.
Right.
But right. I mean, because it's not what we do daily, right?
Right.
So now we have these individuals that don't test well, or didn't really sign up for anything to do with cosmetology, and they're forced to take this test. And they get frustrated paying $130 every time they have to take the test, Right. And now it's even worse because they cannot work because the combining of the boards took away basically the right to be able to work, like the temporary license. So now we have no temporary license in Iowa. People can't get a temporary license, so they're forced to have to either not work, quit, go get another job. They just get too frustrated, and half the time they just say, you know what, I can't pass it. I'm not going to keep paying. And so now with this pathway, I think with the bill, we can allow people to keep studying to take the test if they want to take the test, and they can work as journeymen underneath a master barber or a licensed barber, a barber that has been a barber for over 3 years, they can work underneath us. It's no different than electricians,
Right.
Electrician can't pass the test with plenty of health and sanitation and everything involved. I mean, I would rather have electrician having more hours of training than the barber.
Right. Right. If you get a bad haircut, it'll grow back. But if you burn a house down, you're in trouble.
Exactly. So I'm like we always say in the barbershop, like make it make sense. But so now with this pathway, or we have somebody that comes from another state or another country, a refugee, been cutting hair 10, 15 years, our maybe from another country is a refugee where they've been cutting hair and they haven't been required to have a license, but they can do the job. They understand health and sanitation. With this bill, we can say, hey, listen, we're going to make sure that you know health and sanitation. Yeah, we can look on your phone to see you can perform the service. You can do the job, right? But let's make sure you pass a health and sanitation. How we do it over here, how we do it in this barbershop, how we do it in Iowa. Once you pass that, now you can come work as a journeyman underneath us without having to go pay $25K to learn something that you already know.
So they have to do that now?
Yes, they have to do that now.
Wow. So they could be an expert in that field, and then they have to spend the $25K and do the 1,500, 1,600, 2,100 hours, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
They would have to go to school. Or, for instance, like you come from another state like Florida and the license requirement is 600 hours. You graduated school from there and you wanted to move to Iowa. Now you have to do 1,500 hours. You owe hours. You got your license there. You just got your license there, but then you can't. It's not transferable.
So this bill will solve those issues and kind of clean that up.
It will solve a lot of issues. Now, it still will be like on the individual. Like some individuals may say, hey, I want this license, this Iowa license. I want to be able to be a licensed barber. And there will be some individuals that will use that to their advantage because it's like credentials.
Right, right.
Some
right.
of us will say I have a PhD. I have some barbers. Some barbers and stylists will be able to say, hey, listen, you can get barber services everywhere. I can't guarantee you're going to get the same service. I'm a licensed barber, and I'm also trained in this, and this.
Right.
So it doesn't create a disadvantage to everybody. It's just more education if you want to pursue it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that makes sense. I mean, definitely makes a lot of sense. And how long have you been working on this and working towards this?
So for the last couple of years, the idea was brought to me by a couple other barbers, and just seeing the frustration that we were doing in our industry. Me and Robert Presswood with Platinum Cuts, we always put on a show usually yearly. After COVID, it's kind of been like we've only did one show, but because COVID kind of changed things. But we put on a show called Clash of the Clippers, where we bring all the top educators and industry leaders, companies to Iowa, Des Moines. And we kind of just have these round talk conversations, what do we need? What do we want to do? So it was through one of those conversations that we talked about where the industry is now, where it's going, what do we need to do? How can we get better? Just frustrations with, barber boards and, school systems and education. And, so we that's when I kind of came across like some couple guys from the Institutes of Justice because I was actually working with a braider. I was working with a braider, Sherry at the time, and she was going through it with. They were trying to make her go to beauty school to learn to get a license, and she was simply a braider, just braiding hair. And so we had that working relationship where she ended up winning her case to where she was able to do hair, braid, and what she had been braiding since she was a little girl, and it was like they were trying to make her go to beauty school and get a license, but they had no beauty educator to teach her braiding.
Right.
So it's like, what are we making her go to school for?
Actually, I talked to somebody from the Institute for Justice, and they mentioned her story.
Yeah.
And now they've made it so there's 36 states that exempt braiders from licensure, but that's insane that you would have to get a cosmetology license to braid people's hair. I braid my wife's hair sometimes before she goes to work.
Exactly.
Not that anybody would pay me to do it. I'm not that good, but I mean, if I was, I don't get that.
So it's almost on the same, because there's only 3 barber schools, right? In Iowa, probably. And we have rural kids and other kids that are they going to go to a beauty school to learn how to be a barber, right?
Right. Right.
Or should they? Or some of the stylists that want to be barbers that go to beauty school before the combination of the boards were having to travel to these barber schools so they could shave. You know,
That's interesting.
So, I mean, and that's kind of why the boards combined in the first place, because we had barbering was having such a boom that a lot of these stylists wanted to be barbers. But they don't have barber educators in the cosmetology schools.
Oh,
Still don't.
right. Right.
You know, so they came up with, which is why now barbers don't have to take the practical no more. So barbers are never tested on their skill set. We're tested on a cosmetology. It's not like, you know.
So you don't really have your own pathway.
No,
That's kind of been hijacked.
Our pathway has been hijacked.
Okay.
We no longer take a practical, which we used to do. We used to have to, when we go to barber school, we used to have to prove that we can cut hair, that we can shave, that we can cut hair without a guard, that we can use shears, that we know all the steps to shaving. We had to do that. We had to take a written and a practical. Now we no longer have to take a practical because the schools combined. The licenses combined. Now we just have to take a cosmetology test. So
in that test, do you have to know like how to dye hair and whatnot and do all that crazy stuff?
So we might be tested on nails, color.
Really, I didn't see anybody doing nails or color in your shop.
No, it's tested on anything that perms, everything, you know. And even though like in barber school we did learn how to do perms, but it was like, all right, we're doing perms for the week, you know.
How many perms have you done in the last 10 years?
None.
I don't think women go to barbershops to get a perm.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody came and asked me for a perm, I'm like, hey, you might want to go talk to my wife. My wife don't even like doing perms, but I mean, so like those.
So
are
your
like,
what's a cosmetologist?
My wife is a cosmetologist.
Okay, what's she think of all this stuff?
She's on board. She's on board with us. I mean, like she herself like hated the school process herself because there was a lot of things that she wanted to learn in school that they didn't teach. That she had to pursue education outside of like, and she used to go at the schools like, hey, you guys are charging us for this, but you're not teaching us this, you know? So, I mean, like she's just like me. She kind of watched my pathway as far as like how I pursue education, how she pursues mentors and hires mentors and gets involved with that type of thing too.
Does she have her own shop?
Yeah, she has her own shop right next to me.
Next door, huh?
Right next door.
So she can come running around there and give you a hard time if she wants.
Yeah, she definitely comes around there and gives me a hard time.
That's good.
We're all like family, you know. It's all like brothers and sisters, you know. Yeah. She has 4 stylists at her shop, you know, and we're all like internet. I mean, we all interact daily. So
I asked my wife's cosmetologist about it. Yeah. She was getting her hair done, and I stopped in after we had met, and she said, "I don't have a problem with changing that. You know, I don't see why it should be an issue."
Right.
Yeah, but I know there's some pushback. But
I mean, at the end of the day, as you know, like as a business owner, my job is always going to be the people that come through my doors first. I'm going to always protect those guys. Like, I'm never going to allow anybody, even when it's like I'm training an apprentice, if I'm training an apprentice, I'm going to make sure that apprentice is ready to perform service, and I'm going to be there supervising the service. Hey, so it's not like, and then with barbering, it's kind of like clippers, shears, you know, it's like water.
Right.
It's not like chemical services, like, and even with this bill, it's like we want people to be able to work but not necessarily do chemical service without supervision. Maybe color, which color people can buy.
Right.
People can buy out of Walmart, Walgreens, and a lot of men and women color their own hair. So, and they're not licensed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, coloring is kind of different. You know, if they wanted to remove coloring, I'd be fine with that too. You know, in the bill if they wanted to remove coloring, but that would probably be the only pushback. And we're talking about strictly individuals that perform the service of cutting hair.
Right.
You know,
that want to be a barber.
That want to be a barber.
Yeah.
Or that want to be a stylist cutting hair, just cutting hair.
Right.
You know, not performing chemical services outside of color. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would it mean to you and your community to get this done? The young guys that I saw there the other day, the young guys that come in there that are looking for something, some purpose, how much easier it would be for them and how much more impactful.
It would mean so much to my community because, we're looking at a lot of people, and the barbering, if you look at it, barbering is booming. It's a great industry. It's a great trade to be involved in. We have so many people that are inspired by what we have done in the barber industry in the last decade, and they're trying to find trades. Not everybody wants to be a plumber. Not everybody wants to be an electrician. Not everybody wants to be a lawyer, a lobbyist. A lot of people in our community I see, and they're inspired by what we do. They want to be involved, but there's all these deterrents that stop them from getting involved. So, if we could get this passed, it would mean a great deal to our community and to the people that we have inspired to be barbers and stylists.
Yeah, and it seems like Iowa has been pretty good about trying to deregulate a little bit.
Yeah.
Less government. Our governor's kind of pushed that, less government.
Right. Yeah.
Consolidating agencies, making regulations a little easier and creating more opportunities. So hopefully that's what we'll see.
And I remember talking to our governor when they were combining the boards, and I was kind of like, I don't know. But and I remember one of the things she said was like, we're trying to combine agencies and less government, less involvement, and initially, when that happened, I was kind of like, well, I don't have very many interactions with the barber board anyways, right? And so I was kind of like, maybe this just kind of be like the same thing we're doing. And I talked to other barbers about it, and they're like, I don't really care. At the time, they didn't care because in hindsight, they didn't foresee the other problems.
Sure, and obviously neither did Kim Reynolds or
exactly
or some of the people involved in that.
Nobody did, right?
I think that happens too. When you're in a rush to try to downsize things, sometimes you don't. You're not able to see the long term.
And because
effects.
A lot of people didn't know about it. A lot of the barbers, I knew about it because I have a lot of relationships and provide services to a lot of representatives, and lobbyists. So it was kind of like, hey, did you know this was going on? What? It's going on? Oh, I didn't know that, right? So I talked to a couple other barbers about it, and they're like, Craig, I really don't care. Like I'm just cutting hair in my shop, providing service to my friends. Like it's not gonna bother me none.
Yeah.
But I knew that the cosmetology schools, I knew why they wanted to do it, because the barbering was booming and they didn't want to keep having to send their students to barber school. And at the time, apprenticeship was just coming into Iowa through the DOL. So all that stuff kind of merged. And then when the boards combined, we almost lost the apprenticeship because they didn't recognize cosmetology and barbering as one. So they had to basically go recreate some of the program to make it work, which they did. And a lot of people don't even know that we still have apprenticeship right now, regardless of this bill passed, which is another pathway to apprenticeship. We still have apprenticeship right now.
Really?
We still have unlicensed individuals working in barbershops and in salons right now through the DLL apprenticeship program.
Okay.
So that's where another people say, well, that's another opposition where they say, well, we already kind of have apprenticeship, right? Most people didn't know this. They know it. They're knowing it now because this has been such big on the news. But the problem with that apprenticeship is it was a federal program, has got switched to a state program. And they still navigate, still to this day, navigating people. One day you call down there, you're dealing with somebody else, and then 2 weeks later you're dealing with somebody else. Nobody knows the direction, which way to go. I had lunch with one of the apprenticeship, Jesse, ambassador, just yesterday, matter of fact, and he was saying, I agree, Craig. I know stuff's a mess. I know it's hard to get a hold of people. We're still trying to figure this out ourselves. The problem I had with that was, and I talked to Jesse about it, was the ratio of apprentice that I can teach at one time. I can only teach one apprentice at one. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, versus the educator at the school can teach 20 or 30 students at a time.
While he's sitting in his office on the computer.
Exactly. So, and it's like,
yeah,
my experience,
no,
not saying that all of them, but
right.
It's like those that can do, those that can't teach.
Right.
You know, it's like, all right, so why are you here teaching at the school? You probably failed in the industry, you know? Yeah. So you're my mentor. I'm being mentored by somebody that failed in my industry, because there's no way they want to be there teaching.
Yeah. And I think most people probably understand that working with somebody that's successful and that has a huge client list because people want to come see them because of the results is probably a lot better than sitting in a classroom.
And so, like, for somebody like me, right, I can be as busy as I want to be, but I'm more passionate about helping other individuals, right? I can't, I mean, I'm 48, so I don't want to stand on my feet all day. So I would rather be training other individuals to replace me, take my place, you know. Just in my 100 feet radius, we have 3 barbershops. We have Ian and Travis. They work at Waveland Barbershop. They run Waveland Barbershop. Both of them started at my shop. We have Dustin Lewang. He has a barbershop right across the street, all in 100 feet, walk across the street. Was at my barbershop for over 6 years. His sister was our first apprentice at the barbershop. Works at that barbershop right there. Dom was one of our apprentices. Works in that barbershop right there. So
do you see them as competitors?
No.
I
definitely. So it goes back to what I say: haircut born every day.
Right. So there's plenty of hairs that need cut.
There's plenty of hair. I cannot cut 500,000 people.
So it hasn't affected you.
It hasn't affected me. As a matter of fact, I go over there, change their trash sometime. Make sure y'all changing the trash. We still have lunches together. We still shoot the stuff.
That's amazing.
We still interact. Like, I may go over there and it's somebody's hair I used to cut. Right. Because at one point, you might have been able to call me that day and get a haircut. And I got too busy. And hey, we developed the relationship. So I have a new kid.
Amazing.
I have a new kid, and I say, hey, this guy needs clients. He cuts really good. I want you to go to him. I still have the relationship with you. The bridge has been built. Yeah. I'm mentoring somebody else. I'm having impact on somebody else's life. I'm helping them. That's my legacy.
Right.
That's what most real barbers is. It's not about the heads we cut or the competition of who cuts who. It's about mentorship. It's about mentoring. That's what barbershops have always been about.
I'm going to send this podcast to my brother, my older brother. He went to cosmetology school when we were younger, and he didn't end up he worked a little bit in the industry and then never, now he's a contractor. He does remodeling stuff and whatnot, but I think he'll find this interesting. Right. I wonder how it would have been different for him if it would have been more apprenticeship based and working with.
And he had the right mentor.
Yeah, the right mentor.
Yeah. I mean, because I love it. Listen, I mean, like, waking up, being able to go to work and talk basketball, make my friends look good. Like, it's, have kids coming in, watch them go to high school, go to their basketball games. Like, if I wasn't coming here today, I would have been down at the high school basketball game supporting some of the kids that come in the shop and get their hair cut.
So this bill allows for 2,400 hours in apprenticeship. And how important is that in building young men? I mean, spending that time with them. I mean, what's the most important part of that for you? And spending the time with these young guys that you're mentoring or that are having this apprenticeship experience.
So my philosophy has always been, it takes a village, right? So when we get these young men and we're getting a chance to mentor them, and not every young man may be for me to mentor, but I have somebody that, hey, talk to him. You might not want to hear it from me because you maybe hear it from him, or maybe his experience over there kind of aligns with your experience or what you're going through. I want to have you talk to him. I've done that. Thousands of times. Where somebody's came to me and talked to me, and it might not just be a young man. It could be an old man.
Sure.
It's not just age not on it, but a lot of times it's the young men because they're coming into our shop from an early age. They're going through adolescence. They're going through it. They're having experiences, and they're talking to us, and they're in our chair for an hour. This is not.
What kind of does it get pretty deep sometimes?
Oh, it gets real deep.
Okay.
It gets real deep, or sometimes, I don't know how many times I've had a parent call me and say, hey, I'm dropping my son off there. He don't need a haircut. He just needs to talk.
Really?
Or I want you to talk to him about this.
That's awesome.
That to me is way more important and means more to me and is more part of my legacy than anything. Now I can't say what happens in the stylist or cosmetologist, but I'm sure they have those type of conversations too. But to me, like, that's my legacy. Like, what has been my impact on other people's lives? Could I stop a kid from that was getting in trouble? He didn't want to listen to our parents. We all know that most kids think, oh, our parents are just talking to be talking. So I want to be able to keep having those opportunities, keep creating young men, mentoring young men to be able to do what I do, in the
Which
future.
is beyond the haircut, beyond the barbership.
Way beyond barbering. I tell people all the time, right? I'm a barber. There's a bunch of good haircutters out there.
Right.
They may not be barbers. Good haircutters don't make you a good barber.
Right.
Good barbers, we take care of the community. So when we're talking about protecting the community, leading the community, putting our boots on when there's an issue, right. That's what a good barber is. That's what we do. That's
amazing. If you could speak to legislators directly about this whole thing, what would you say to them?
What would I say to legislators? I would say, just do your research, on barbering across the country, like haircutters, stylists, other countries that don't require licenses. See what type of threat it is to, if there was any threat, or there was a difference between a threat between licensed and unlicensed, or apprenticeship in school. Do your research, because I've seen a lot of propaganda and fear pushed on social media. Oh, there's going to be this. There's going to be this. It's not really true. Your hair is going to fall out, all different types. You're going to be getting burned. What are you going to be getting burned from by this bill?
Well, my mom always told me she was going to snatch me bald headed. So she made good on her promise.
And I would say, this is a chance for a legislator to really have some serious impact. It's not just going to be this fight. Just ain't in Iowa. Right. It's in Iowa, but this is going on across all the states right now. This is a chance for us to lead the way, for us to have impact. Yeah, there may be some people that may be mad at first, right?
Right.
Which there's as a legislator or a business owner, there's gonna be people that sometimes don't agree with your decision, and then in hindsight they say, well, dang, that decision really didn't do what I thought, or didn't affect me as much as I thought it was. And it affected more people in a positive way,
right,
than it affected me in a negative way.
I can see the positive impact. I mean, I'm all about growing young men, giving them opportunities where they might not have it before. Giving them a purpose.
Which is why when I came to your group, I was like, dang, this is awesome. This is like what we do in a barbershop. We have these conversations. And as you know, you guys were talking about the stuff that you guys were doing down at the Capitol. Yeah. And I said, and Eddie came in that morning and I said, remember, Eddie, what were we talking about? We were having this same men's conversation in the barbershop, when you guys were having the same thing. And then I didn't know I was going to end up at your group.
And then here comes Eddie.
and here comes Eddie. I'm saying to Eddie, he was there that morning. So we need this bill. It's necessary. It makes sense. There's no threat to the public. There's no threat to anybody's livelihood. There's even no threat to the schools. There's still going to be people that come to me and I say, hey, look, I think this may be the best route for you. Let's just give people some choice. Let's give people a different alternative, a different pathway. Not one size fits all.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you coming on today to talk about it. When we first met, I thought, man, I have to have that guy on the podcast. Man. He's making a difference. You're making a difference. And
I'm trying.
I appreciate that. So, God bless you. Hopefully this will move forward the way that you envision it, and have that impact, that positive impact on your community and communities all across Iowa. So it's so important what you're doing. So
thank you.
Yeah, we'll follow up. How about that?
I look forward to it. Let's definitely follow up.
All right. God bless you, man.
God bless
Thank
you.
you.
Too. Yep. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Yep.